Hello, welcome to this fifth session of Sri Hanuman Chalisa. Jai Sri Ram, Jai Sri Hanuman. We start with the prayer of the Lord. It is only with this Guru Krupa and Ishwar Krupa that we are able to understand the scriptures. And I must say that I am still a learner on this path. So whatever I am sharing with you is whatever I have understood from Sri Guruma. And we start with our prayer. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karva Vahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma Vidvishamahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So this rendition of Living Hanuman is from this book by Sri Pawan Kumar Mishra, which says it's a journey from a selfie to the self, to rediscover our own self, that is Hanuman. The main purpose of Hanuman Chalisa, it consists of 43 verses. There are 40 chopai and 3 toha, and the main purpose is to become one with the universal consciousness, which is the goal for all the seeking spiritual traditions across the world. This goal is also called moksha, which means mukti, freedom from all our limitations, from all our conditioning, freedom from all our karma phala, freedom from all these cycle of birth and death and sansar chakra. So this mukti, there are many ways to reach this goal. Though the goal is one, there are several ways, and the ownership of this spiritual journey is our own. May it be a journey outside where we are seeking for worldly pleasures, or we are seeking inner joy, inner pleasure, or spiritual pleasures. The journey has to be on our own. And Hanuman Chalisa gives us this balance between the outer world and the inner spiritual realms. For the seeker on the path of ascent towards self-realization, who is awake to human values like compassion, contentment, gratitude, and joy. So Hanuman Chalisa helps us to achieve this. The structure of Hanuman Chalisa, the first one toha, that there is this purpose of the Chalisa, which shows that Antakaran Shuddhi is important. The first 1 to 8 verses tells us about the qualities of Sri Hanuman, then the deeds of Sri Hanuman, the praises Sri Ram offers, how the Kundalini ascent happens, and what is the Falashruti of, or the benefits of the worship of Sri Hanuman, and finally the boon that Sri Hanuman resides in the devotee's heart, or Aikya. So we'll start with the 16th shloka. तुम उपकार सुग्रीवहि किन्हा राम मिलाए राजपद दिन्हा. So in this shloka it says Tuma. Tuma in Hindi means you, and it shows that the seeker is very close to Sri Hanuman, because otherwise if you are addressing somebody who is much elderly, you say aap in Hindi. Otherwise tum you say only for people who are very close to you. So it suggests that Hanuman always resides very close to the heart of the seeker. Tuma upakara sugrivahi kinha means that Hanuman bestowed the grace on Sugriva. Upkar kiya Sugriv ke upar. Sugriva, as you know, was a brother of the king Bali, who was killed in a duel with Sugriva, Bali, by Sri Ram. So Ram helped to kill Bali and gave Sugriva his kingdom. Ram milaye rajpad dinha means Sri Hanuman was instrumental for meeting of Sugriva with Lord Rama, who reinstated Sugriva as the king. So it was because of Hanuman that Sugriva could meet Sri Rama, and Sri Rama helped him to regain his kingdom. And this story goes back to how Sugriva and Bali both were brothers, both were getting along very well. But once Bali was very powerful, and once he went to kill a demon, and the demon then hide in the cave. And then he asked Sugriva to wait there outside the cave, and he said, I'll kill the demon and come back. But he didn't come back. Sugriva waited for almost 1 year, and then he thought that he heard a lot of screams, and he saw a lot of blood coming out from the from that cave, and he thought that most likely Bali has died. So he put a large piece of stone in front of the gate of the cave, and then he went back, and then he was crowned the king. So when Bali came back, he thought that Sugriva has played a trick on him, and he banished Bali from his kingdom. So that was the story. Sugriva means griva, the neck, which is beautiful. Sugriva. Sugriva means a beautiful neck. And the neck is a manifestation for speech, because we speak from our throat. The larynx or the vocal cords are in the throat. So it's important that we must be a soft-spoken person. We must speak very clearly. Whatever we want to convey, the message must be clear, and we must speak only what is necessary. Griva is also the corridor that connects the body with the head. So it connects the higher and the lower selves. And this connection signifies the connection between the Jiva and the Shiva. Neck is also important for the posture. So our posture must also be good, because a lot of neck problems happen when the posture is not good. Cervical spondylosis, especially in today's world where we look at the computer and the screens and the mobile all the time, then the posture does not remain proper, and cervical neck problems can happen. In the throat there is this chakra called the Vishuddhi chakra, and this is the chakra for self-purification, for intuition, and it is activated by Ujjayi pranayama. So pranayama is very important to activate this Shakti, and this can also be activated by the spiritual journey. And this is the last chakra which can be activated via our own efforts. After that, later on, all the other chakras like the Agya chakra or the Sahasra chakra can only be activated by the grace of the Guru and the Shastra, and the Jnana that we get from this is from the Shastra. Rama Milaya Rajapada Dina, Hanuman was instrumental in meeting of Rama with Sugriva, and then there was a friendship between Sugriva and Rama, who ultimately gave justice for Sugriva and attainment of the kingdom for Sugriva. But for our seeker, the ultimate kingdom that we want to attain is the Atma Jnana. That is the ultimate goal for all seekers. That is the ultimate kingdom. Just like Sugriva wanted his kingdom, the seekers want their own kingdom. And Rama Milaya is the grace of God. Only with the grace of God one can attain this ultimate goal. But it is not just the grace of God. Grace of God, our Shastras say that because of the grace of God we come in contact with our Guru, and Guru through the Shastras teach us, and finally the journey that has to happen is by the efforts of the seeker. I mean, it's not that only by the grace of God we can attain Atma Jnana. Nobody can do that. Even the most pious people need to do some efforts to get to the Atma Jnana. So the efforts by the seeker, the Purushartha, is very important, because the first step is the Shuddhi in the spiritual journey, Antakarana Shuddhi, purity of the mind, and then by the grace of God we can get a good Guru who can guide us to the Shastras, and then the grace of God will help us to achieve the Atma Jnana. So this is how the path of the spiritual journey happens. The 17th shloka says, Tumharo mantra vibhishana mana, Lankeswara bhay sab jag jana. So this says that Vibhishana accepted your mantra. Your mantra, Hanuman's main mantra was surrender. He always surrendered to Lord Rama for everything, for all his work. He was a dasa, and he was a devotee of Sri Rama, always under the Sharan or the surrender of Sri Rama. Lankeswara bhay sab jag jana. Vibhishana takes refuge, surrenders to Lord Rama, befriends him, and Lord Rama crowns him, and then he is known as the king of Lanka or the Lankeswara. So everybody knows him as Lankeswara later on. Initially, of course, the Lankeswara was Ravan, but then Vibhishana became the Lankeswara. So Vibhishana, the word itself means Vibhishana. Vibhishana is fiercely strong. But Vibhishana is not a kind of though he is in the demon cooler, he is not like the other demons. He is not that kind of Atyachari, Krur kind of a person, but he is believing in Dharma. And he is a very simple person, very soft-spoken devotee of Sri Rama, and he is quite a firm, decisive person. These are the qualities of Vibhishana. And his mantra, that surrender to the Lord, that mantra has been used by a lot of people to gain their own unnati or their own enlightenment. Hanumana, Vibhishana, Sugriva, everyone used the same mantra of surrender. And it is also important that acceptance, total acceptance is important. Rama, though he was incarnation of the Lord Vishnu, but he was in a human form, so he also had to accept a lot of things. He had to accept 14 years of exile. He had to live in the forest without much comforts, without on plain simple clothes, with simple food, and then he had to fight a lot of battles also while he was in the exile. Vibhishana also accepted. Sri Rama surrendered to him. Angada's father was Bali, who was killed by Sugriva. Still, Angada accepted Sugriva as the king. Mandodari was the wife of Ravana. Ravana was killed by Sri Rama, but Mandodari then finally accepted Vibhishana as her husband. So all these suggest that total acceptance is, under any situation of life, is very important, and surrender to the Lord or Almighty is important to get some peace of mind and be happy. So Vibhishana explained to Ravan several times about his dharma, what he should do, what he should not do, and also suggested that he should send back Sita back to Sri Rama, because it was adharma to keep her, and that was his moha of Ravana, that he held to the Sita. But Ravan did not believe him, and he almost banished Vibhishana, kicked him, and in the front of the entire courtroom he disrespected Vibhishana and threw him out of the kingdom. So then Vibhishana finally went to Lord Rama and accepted his surrender to Rama. So Vibhishana teaches us that we should come out of our comfort zone. For seekers, it is very important that we don't remain in the comfort zones. We have to learn new things. We have to get out of our comfort zone. We have to make some efforts to progress in our spiritual or adhyatmic journey. And this virtual life lived high in conduct is very important for our own progress. Then seekers also have to dissociate from bad company, bad omen, bad people, right? Because, say for example, Vibhishana was with Ravana, but he could not live with Ravana, and so he had to dissociate himself from Ravana. Similarly, seeker should try to adjust initially if there is a conflict between the people that he is living with. It's not that immediately he should dissociate. He should try to adjust, because he should try his best to make sure that he adjusts to all this if not dissociate. Say for example, Prahlad had to dissociate from his father. Bharat dissociated from her mother Kaikeyi, who took two boons and sent Ram to exile. So all this suggests that from such people who are on the spiritual path may have to dissociate even from their close family members also. So total acceptance without likes or dislikes, that is raga dvesha, without changing or without complaining, is something that we have to learn from Vibhishana. There is this nice story which is given in Srimad Bhagavat, which our Guru Ma also tells us that these are the three boons of Brahma, the, and the. So as you know, humans, devas and demons, Drakshas, all are sons of Brahmaji. Brahmaji was the original, the first Purusha, or the first creation, and then from him the humans, the devas and the demons, all the three races created. So Deva, when all these three were got some knowledge or understanding from Brahmaji, at the time that they were going away, Brahmaji asked them that I need three boons from you. So from each he asked for a boon. From the Devas he asked for Dhamma. So three the Dhamma. Dhamma means control of senses, because Devas are they are always in their they are always consumed in their senses. Or this Indriya, Mana, they want all the pleasures, the comforts, the best, Jao Jalali. So they are all. So he asked for Dhamma, some kind of a control over your senses. For humans, they have an attitude of possessing, taking away things that belong to them, that belongs to other people also. So they have greed, a lot of greed. They just want to possess, consume, possess, hoard. So all this, that's why Brahmaji asked humans to do more of dana, give, donate, give, let go. And from the demons are very cruel, atyachari. They are very violent, and that's why he asked for daya, or forgiveness, compassion from the demons. So this ultimately can lead us to attainment of the ultimate kingdom that we all look for. The 18th sloka tells us about the childhood leela of Sri Hanuman. That is a leap of Sri Hanuman to the sun while he was a child. Juga sahastra jo jan par bhanu लील्यो ताहि madura fala janu. So here it says Juga Sahasra Jojana Parajanu, and it measures the distance of sun from the earth. And with this measurement, it says it is almost 15 crore 36 lakh kilometers. And what the science tells us, there is only 1% error between this the distance that we can be measured from the Sahasra Jojana, from the Bhanu means sun, and Juga means Jagata. So Jagata to sun, what is the distance? It says there is almost, our Rishimunis could accurately predict the distance of sun from the earth. Lilyo tahi madura phala janu. Hanuman took this sun inside his mouth, thinking that this is a nice fruit, madura phala janu, samajkar, something like red apple. So he thought that this is a red apple. So he leaped up to the sun, 15 crore 36 lakh kilometers, and took it in his mouth. So this is the story or the Leela of Hanumanji while he was a child. But this tells us also about our ancient wisdom, our Vedic science, which was very scientific. It was Aristotle in 324 BC. He said that the earth is round. Till that time it was thought that the earth is flat. But it was in the 8th or the 9th century before Christ. Shatpat Brahman was a scripture, Grantha, which is also available today, written by Yagnavalkya, who said that the earth is round and it moves around the sun in 365 days. And it was Copernicus in 1562 AD, almost after 1000 years, he said that he calculated that it takes 365 days to move around the sun for the earth. And this difference was only 6 minutes between what Yagnavalkya had calculated and what Copernicus calculated. So this is what our ancient wisdom, our Vedic science, it is so accurate and so precise. Sun or Bhanu is a source of all knowledge. It is a source of all light on this earth, all the planets, because it gives a lot of energy. And Ram belonged to the solar dynasty. Hanuman also considered sun as his guru. So Gayatri mantra is to seek Hanuman, is also belongs to the sun. And sun is the center of the universe. All the planets, they go around in our Milky Way, and that it also suggests that there is only one goal, but there are many ways of achieving this goal. The sun salutation or the Surya Namaskar is a type of asana, which is a very, very important asana, because it is almost like a complete exercise which improves our endocrine, circulatory, digestive system and all other systems of our body. Similarly, there is another Chakshu Bhakshana. This is a Kriya, a short action in the morning, early morning, when we can observe the sun, and this gives a lot of energy for us throughout the day and improves our vision also. So the goal of the seeker is the Jnana Marga, to achieve oneness or the Atma Jnana, to see everything as one. And this goal or this Vidya or this knowledge was first given by Bhagwan to sun in the 4th Adhyaya of Bhagavad Gita. In the first shloka, Bhagwan says that Vivaswan, he gave this knowledge first to the sun, and then Vivaswan gave it to Manu, and Manu then Rikshva, and then from there the Rikshvakula, the Raja Maharaja, they got this knowledge, and then it was lupta, it was hidden, or it got somehow lupta means it got unknown for a long period of time. And now that I am telling you, Arjuna, I am telling you the same jnana that I had given to the sun. In Bhakti Marga, there is it's said that there is a dhara, there is a stream which goes from the source, which goes downwards and meets the ocean. But the opposite of dhara is Radha, and Radha stands for the stream which goes towards the source, that is Krishna, because Krishna is the source of all. And Hanuman is also devotee, just like Radhaji. Unconditional love to Ram for Hanuman. Similarly, Radhaji had unconditional love for Krishna, and always give. They always give without any expectation. So that is what is the quality of a devotee. And they have a egoless, total surrender, which is also very important quality for a devotee. In the Yog Marg, the flight to the sun activates the Kundalini Shakti to the Sahasra Chakra, which is located on the top, which is location for achieving the oneness between the individual consciousness and the universal consciousness. So this is the ultimate chakra which needs to be activated by our spiritual journey. Ahankar, ego. So Hanuman, this story which goes about Hanuman swallowing the sun, so there was darkness all over the world and all over the planets. And then Indra, the lord of the Devatas, he sent his Vajra. Vajra is a very hard weapon that he had, and this broke the upper jaw of Hanuman, and the sun was released. And that's why Hanuman's upper jaw always is swollen. And this Hanu also means the upper lip. And this also signifies that Hanuman's ego is destroyed and he is in an egoless manner all the time. So this stands for a Manipur or the Nabhi chakra, which is at the navel, and this stands for the dynamism or the success, material wealth, which is also called the fire in the belly or the stress response, a gut feeling, intuition. So all these arises from the Nabhi chakra or the Manipur chakra. Lilyo tahi madura phala janu. So it also signifies Madhura Phala means plant-based diet. We know today that plant-based diet is much better than the cooked food or the processed food that we eat today. And this is what today the science tells us. And then the foods that we eat are either Rajasic, Tamasic or Sattvic. This is very well given in the Gita Ji also. And the leap of Hanuman for the seeker, it signifies exponential growth and progress. Though for the seeker, his baby steps help him. Charaiveti. So that is something that that is given in the scriptures. But sometimes we have to work for exponential growth and progress for the seeker also. Avatar Leela of the it gives an opportunity for the devotees to get the darshana of the Lord. So Rama was also an Avatar Leela. So that gave Hanuman and a lot of other devotees an opportunity to give darshana. Similarly, Yashoda saw in Krishna the entire Brahmanda Kaka Bhushundi as a crow went into Rama's while he was a child. And that is this katha that he could see the entire universe there inside the stomach of Sri Rama. The 19th slok tells us about Prabhu Mudrika Meli Mukha Mahi Jaladi Langi Gaye Acharach Nahi. So this is another leap of Hanuman which happens now across the ocean in search of Sita Ji. So in this leap it says Prabhu Mudrika Meli Mukha Mahi. Lord Rama gave him Hanuman a ring which was an identity that Hanumana asked Rama that if I meet Sita Ji and if I say I am coming from Lord Ram, how does he recognize me that I am your servant, I am your sevak? So Ram gives him a ring and says, Hanuman, this will be like a identification that you are my emissary or my messenger. So Hanumana kept this in his mouth while he was going across the ocean. So Prabhu Mudrika Meli Mukha Mahi Jaladi Langi Gaye Acharaj Nahi. Hanuman crossed the ocean to meet Sita Ji without any astonishment, because koi acharaj ke bina he could do this major feat or he could took this giant leap across the ocean. That is because of the faith, the shraddha, the surrender that he had, because this can move mountains, surrender to the Lord and continuous namasmaran, because he put the ring in the mouth. Also suggests that if you can just remember that and constantly do namasmaran of the Lord, that is a very big thing in this Kali Yuga for achieving or attaining the Lord. So with his grace, nothing is difficult. Big tasks are like, Hanuman could achieve this very difficult task because of the grace of Sri Rama. And even the Khechri Mudra is also from the mouth, where the awareness and the meditation happens there, where the tongue is rolled back and goes to the palate. Jaladi Langi Gaye Acharaj Nahi. This also suggests that there were many difficulties in the path of Hanuman. There were demons in the way, some distractions on the way, but he had a single point focus. He did not get swayed and he remained on focus all the time. So this suggests to us seekers that whatever goal we have, we must make persistent efforts to reach our goals. We should not do multitasking. It should be a single pointed goal. Just like Hanuman, for him there was a single pointed goal to meet Sitaji, to search for Sitaji, to cross the ocean, to reach Lanka. This was like a single pointed goal. So there was no multitasking. So in my own experience also, I have felt and seen that if we do Shravana with proper sitting, with proper silence, in early mornings with proper notes, and if you do this kind of Shravana from the Guru, then definitely the assimilation of knowledge is much better. Previously I used to do it while I used to walk or do some exercise. I used to listen to the Shravana or the Vedanta, but that is not the way to get this knowledge. So this is important. One must have a single pointed goal. Our brain is not made to work for multitasking. It is made only to work for a single point focus. So both leaps in the 18th and the 19th shloka, they tell us that we should as seekers come out of our comfort zone and leap in our spiritual journey. So for the seeker to leap to the goal, to utilize all our full potential is extremely important. Similarly, there is this shloka from Kathopanishad, Uttishta Jagrata, which was quite made famous by Swami Vivekananda. It tells us Uttishta means arise from this laziness, slumber, and Jagrata, awaken and be aware and be mindful about all the happenings that happens to us. Similarly, Hanuman also had lost his powers, and his limitless powers were reminded to him by Jamvanta on the shores of the ocean when they had come in search of Sitaji. And then he could leap to the Lanka when he was reminded of his limitless powers. In yoga, the Swadhisthana chakra over the Muladhara chakra, root chakra, indicates our ego, our survival instinct, our identification, and we have to transcend that. So that also requires a leap for us to transcend these basic instincts if we want to progress on the path of the spirituality. Brahmacharya is to cross our basic needs, to utilize our hidden potentials for our own betterment. So mind and awareness must be focused, mind must be tranquil, it must be quiet, must be free and focused, and we should try and achieve increasing the efficiency of our mind, so that, and this can be possible only by meditation, by harnessing our own inner energies. And of course we have to be aware about our raga dvesha. Lord Krishna tells us in the Karma Yoga Adhyaya, Tayorna Vasham Agachet. Don't come in their, in their vashme, meaning in their control. Try to be beyond their control and don't try and get under the control of raga dvesha. The 20th shloka tells us, Durgam kaj jagat ke jete, Sugama anugrah tumhare te. So this is a center shloka of the Hanuman Chalisa, which is a Chalisa of 40 shlokas. And even if you consider the 3 dohas, then it comes to 43 shlokas. Then this is the perfect center shloka of the Hanuman Chalisa. Durgama kaja jagat ke jete. So all the difficult jobs or difficult work of this world, which we find so difficult, Sugama anugraha tumare tete. With your grace, they become quite easy. So any difficult job, if we try and remember the Lord, if we surrender ourselves, if we don't try to impose our belief, our ichha, our duragra onto this, then they become quite easy with the grace of the Lord. So Durgama task, सबसे most difficult task in a spiritual aspirant's journey is the Agnan, to Nivrutta, to get rid of the Agnan, Avidya, Nivrutti. That is the most difficult. The sadhana is also difficult because it is long and it goes from years to years, sometimes life to another life, many lives. Indriya Sanyam and Mana Sanyam, both are very, very chanchal, very active, very difficult to control. So a Mayavi Mruga that Sitaji saw, it signifies worldly desires for us, and the Lakshman Rekha that Lakshmana made around Sitaji tells us that we should limit our desires in some way and we should not cross these limits, even to show our goodness. Sitaji crossed the limits just to give alms to Ravana, who had come in the by becoming a sage. So he had changed his form and he had come as like a sadhu. So Sitaji gave this alms and then she was kidnapped. So this suggests that, from egocentric living, we should look at the larger good, and the long-term vision is more important than short-term accomplishments. For the seeker, viveka, some kind of thinking about the world, its nature, because it's a completely changing world. It's a very relative world. Everything keeps changing according to the time, space, person. Everything keeps changing. Our desires, our energies. Someday we feel better, someday we feel low. Our desires, someday we have a lot of desires, someday it's a quiet mind, we feel happy. Sometimes we have a success, sometimes we have a failure, sometimes we are in love, sometimes we hate that person, sometimes we love some object, sometimes you don't have that kind of attachment. So everything keeps changing. It's a very relative world, and our monkey mind also, it's very difficult to control. And this chitta vritti nirodha, as Yog Vashishta tells us, is a very, very important part of the sadhana. Hanumanji had a grace from his parents, and of course he surrendered himself. That's why he could do the most difficult jobs and could overcome unsurmountable obstacles. So in the field of sadhana, a lot of it is because of our purushartha. Our efforts are very important. They must be disciplined efforts. They must be towards the goal. They must be persistent efforts, and we have to keep walking. Charayvaiti, charayvaiti. Keep walking on this path. And shanaihi uparamed means there is a slowly you will see the change. You won't see changes overnight. In a spiritual journey, it takes years for change to happen. So this is very, very important. And the grace of Lord and the Guru is very important to reach to our main goal. So Muladhara Chakra, the root chakra, is the most basic chakra which gives us our carnal desires, sanskaras, and the root lock is a perineal squeeze exercise, activates this chakra. The sexual energies also are controlled here, and we must avoid suppressing these energies so that we don't become guilty of the energies. We should try and rationalize and channelize these energies in better jobs rather than suppressing these energies. The 21st shloka tells us, Ram dware tum rakhware, hotana agya binu paisare. So Rama dware, Rama's door. Rama is, of course, he is the Lord, Nirguna, Nirakar Swarupa. He is the universal consciousness. When he takes a form, he becomes the Rama or Vishnu. And you, Hanuman, is the guard to this door of heaven. And Hotana Agnya Binu Paisare means without your permission, the individual identity or the ego cannot be dissolved. So surrender is so important. Without your permission means without the permission of Hanuman, you cannot enter the door to the Lord, to the heaven, or without the permission of the Lord, you cannot enter this door. You can make it in both the ways. So, Hotana Agya Binu Paisare. So, if you want to be one with the Lord in the spiritual journey, surrender is important. We have to take this Agya. Agya means, this permission means we have to surrender our ego, our own individual identity. Unless it is surrendered, we cannot achieve our assimilation with the universal consciousness. So the Agya Chakra, which is there in between the eyebrows, it's a surrender to the higher self. It suggests Sharanagati, which is very important. And this Sharanagati is none other than the Lord, the creator of this universe. And only because of the grace of the God, we can go and pursue our spiritual journey and feel oneness with everything in this universe. Of course, it is easier for the women seekers to activate the Agya Chakra. For the men, it requires a lot of compassion, love, trust, etc. because these are the qualities which are innate in a woman, whereas men have to acquire them. So, it's only with the Guru that we can achieve this Jnana, Atma Jnana. And the Mana is also very important because we have to continuously keep the Nam Smarana. And the Sangha, our company, Satsanga, company of good people will help us on this path. Company of bad people will actually take us away from this path. And in Gita Ji it is also showed that Shishyatva, Grahan Karna against the Guru is very important. That is also Sharanagati. In the Karma Yoga it says Karma Phala Sharanagati. Karma Phala we should try and let go, or Vairagya towards the Karma Phala. So that is also Sharanagati. And Raga Dvesha Samarpan. So everywhere in the in the Adhyatmic sadhana, spiritual journey, Samarpan, surrender, let go, Vairagya, all these are very, very important. Only with this let go we can then finally having acceptance of the God and attitude of the karma. It is possible. So surrender gives rise to this inner acceptance. There are many uncertainties in life, anxieties. If we don't accept, then we will have fear. If we accept these uncertainties, we will see or pursue life as an adventure. If we see somebody who is more successful, if we are able to accept him, we will get inspired from his life. If we don't accept him, we will feel jealous for that person. If somebody hurts her, we accept, then we can give them forgiveness. If we don't accept, then it will hatred, we'll again give violence, we'll again hurt them, and then it can lead to violence. Desires, if we don't accept the desire, somebody comes in between, the desire is not fulfilled, then it becomes anger. But if we accept, then it becomes more of a tolerance. Similarly, diseases, if you don't accept, it causes a lot of stress. Advanced cancers and death is the final nail. If we don't accept, for most of the people, we cannot accept our own death. And that's why we have a lot of anxieties, fears about our own death, about diseases that can happen to us. But this can only by acceptance, by surrender. We can understandingly, by this we can actually come to terms with these, our death and our diseases. Aikya, oneness in all. In both Jiva Jagata, both are anitya, both are transient, temporary, and we have to surrender our doership. The kartrutva behind the karma has to be surrendered. Only then we can become nira ahankara, and then finally we can achieve the aikya. Otherwise it is not just possible. Even in Islam, surrender to God is stress. Buddhism also, Buddhau Sharanam Gacchami, where surrender is the most important principle. So in almost all important traditions across the world, surrender to the Lord is a very important part of our spiritual journey. The words surrender and surendra, they are both rhyming very closely to each other. Surendra means Lord of the senses or Indriya Sanyam, and that is also important. So our journey from Bheda Buddhi to Abheda Buddhi, seeing oneness in all, requires total surrender to the Lord. A word about Ramadwara and a Kamadwara, the constant desires. The Kamadwara, the outer world, where there are a lot of desires. They are very flowery. All these are it gives us a tag that the party is on, you are most welcome. So we try to spend a lot of our time on this. But Gita Ji, our Upanishads, all of us have told us that desires are like paranchikhani. They will never get satiated. Gita Ji tells us that they are mahashano mahapapma. They make us do something most difficult or sins also. So the desires are very dangerous. We must have some kind of a vivek, understanding about our desires. And Gita Ji tells us that kama, krodha and moh are the roads to hell. And our inner journey is from outer world to our inner world. So this is this inner journey, and this has to be taken, this journey towards the Lord. From worldly to godly is what we need to do. From a Kamadwara we have to go to Ramadwara. Sab sukh lahe tumhari sarna, tum rachhak kahu ko darna. So sab sukh lahe tumhari sarna, in your surrender, Sharana, there are waves of happiness. All the waves of happiness are there in your surrender. Tumhara chaka kahu ko darna. If you are my protector, there is no reason for me to worry. So this says that sabasukha lahe tumhari sarana, in your pleasure. In the life also there are many rasas or the sukha. But this we have to enjoy without attachment. Even Ishavasya Upanishad tells us, Tena tyaktena bunjita. We should enjoy these pleasures of life by practicing non-attachment. And our mind is, the natural state of this mind is quietness, because we are most happy when the mind is quiet and we feel at home. The mind is not quiet, it is, it's thinking, it is disturbed, it is, some thoughts are there, then it is not the natural state and we don't feel happy. When it is very chanchal due to desires, expectations, it wants to do many bogus pleasures, it yearns for many things. But that is not the real happiness. Real happiness comes from quiet mind. In the Gita Ji also, Bhagavan Krishna tells us, Ashantasya kuta sukham. If the mind is ashanta, how can you get sukha, happiness? It is not just possible. Only with shanti we can get sukha. So that is very important. Dependence never gives happiness. So our journey, spiritual journey, has to go from our dependence or paradhinata to swadhinata, independence, so that we can become more happy. We are dependent on lots of things for happiness. Our life partner, our family, our people around us, some praises, good talk, somebody talks good about us, holidays, travel, going places, visiting places, eating out in some restaurants, movies, TV, internet, phone, social media. So all these we try and yearn for these day in and out, and we are dependent on our happiness for all these things. Even on a Sunday, we are not trained to stay at home. It's good that this coronavirus has taught us to remain at home even on working days and to work from home also. But otherwise, it is very difficult for us to remain, at home even for a day. So at work also, we are dependent on a lot of other people for our happiness, and that's why we try and display a lot of our selfish behaviors. But the real happiness, what our Shastra tells us, the scriptures tell us, is not in the comforts of the wealth or the outside world. That is a belief. Our experience also tells us that the happiness that we get in the outer world is very transient. It is very temporary. And if we evaluate further and we think more on this, then we realize that this transient happiness is not due to these objects, persons or relationships, because after a while, even when they are not there with us, we feel sad. We don't feel happy all the time that those objects or those persons are with us. And that suggests itself that this is not the happiness of that person or that object, but this transient happiness is probably because of something else. But what we yearn, all of us yearn, is for constant happiness which is permanent, which definitely this world cannot give, because the nature of this world is transient, it is temporary, it cannot give us a permanent happiness. The Shuddha Mana, a quiet mind or a pure mind, Shanti, gives us the purity of the mind, gives us a kind of a peace of mind which can give us a lot of sukha and happiness. Santosha, some kind of contentment, that okay, enough is enough, I've done enough, I've got enough, my needs are quite low, I have enough. And this can help us to come out of this more and more success and achieve a balance between our life. Shastra tells us that real happiness is inside us. It is not outside in the real world. And that's why we need to look for it inside. And that is our spiritual journey. And we have to remove all the layers that hide this happiness. It is already there, but there are a lot of layers around this. There's a lot of dirt on this mirror. So we have to clean this. And then only we can find this Atma Swarupa. So we have to rediscover our Atma Swarupa, our own self, which is incomparable bliss. Atma Swarupa, it is said that it is Sat Chit and Ananda Swarupa. The Ananda Swarupa is the bliss form of the Atma Swarupa. This is what our Upanishad tells us. And the person who is sthit in Atma Swarupa, he is Atma Rati, Atma Trupta, Atma Santushta, means that he is fully happy, completely satisfied, contented in his own self. Does not have to yearn for any thoughts, desires for getting any happiness from the outside world. And this person is the Sthita Prajna person, according to Lord Krishna in the Adhyaya 2nd of the Bhagavad Gita. Tumara chaka kahu ko darana. So there are a lot of fears that all of us have: insecurities, anxieties, stress, and this also gives us a sense of hoarding of a lot of things because of the insecurity. The natural damage to the nature that we have done, climate change, nature, in the last 45 years because of industrialization, has been worse than the last 4.5 billion years that this earth has been born. And this climate change is creating a disastrous effect on our own ecology. And a lot of terrorism, violence and fear also is reported because of these insecurities and fear. We have a fear of the future, people have fear of darkness, people have fear of animals, we have fear of several other things. And now the newer fears are the fear of the mobile and the fear of missing out. It's also called FOMO. And that's why we reach out to our social media all the time. But the final fear, the death knell, is the fear of the death, which is called the Abhinivesha. which is also called the thanatophobia. So this fear we can dissolve or eradicate only by understanding, surrendering to the Lord, and understanding that if Lord is our protector, then why do we need to fear? Lord is the Almighty. We don't need to fear when Lord is protecting us. And there is this balance of the autonomic nervous system in our own life, which is very important for our immune system and a digestive system. And with this trust in God, with this surrender, we can reach to this fearless stage. But in the Vyavharik Jivan or the worldly life, we have to fear the fear, nothing else. And we have to face the fear. Only then the fear will go away. If we keep hiding, running away from the fear, then fear will always chase us. So from fear, we have to lead to faith. And finally, we have to go to surrender. So only this is the best way to get rid of the fear. And from scarcity mentality, we have to go towards the abundance mentality and accept Lord as our protector in each and every situation of our life. Then only we can definitely believe that tum rakshaka kahu ko darna. Sukha dukha, love or fear is something that we all do all our actions for, either to get pleasure or to relieve our pain. But unfortunately, we do it with our raga and dvesha, our strong likes and dislikes, which also causes our attractions and repulsions to objects, persons and other situations. So this causes the root problem, that is called the attachment, which leads us to our selfish or the possessive love, which is the cause for the pain. But the true love is non-possessive, it has no attachments, and it is completely compassion, it is unconditional love. And that's why we all must strive to go from pseudo-love to the true love in our life. Sukha can be obtained in the meditation, in the Samadhi Avastha, by being one with the universal consciousness. In the Bhakti path, Sharanagati gives rise to Sukha. In the Karma Yoga, also Sharanagati is there of our ego, of our Karma Phala. And we should do karma as a duty to please the Lord. And then in the Gnana Sadhana, Moksha, Mukti is the eternal bliss, that's a final goal. And this gives us the complete independence that we all desire always, which is the real bliss. So with this we come to the end of the 5th session of Sri Hanuman Chalisa. Jai Shri Ram, Jai Shri Hanuman.